You are standing in a grocery store aisle. There are 40 kinds of bread. There are protein bars shaped like candy and candy shaped like health food. You are holding your phone, searching, what did cavemen eat? Because somewhere in the back of your mind, you believe there is a correct answer buried in your own biology. A diet you were built for, a diet you have somehow lost. But the real answer is far stranger than any diet book on the shelf behind you. There was no caveman diet. Not one, not ever. Our ancestors did not eat the same thing in every season, in every place, on every continent they crossed. They adapted again and again and again. That is the actual story, and it is far more impressive than any list of foods you are allowed to eat. Think about it for a second. Humans have lived on ice sheets in the Arctic. Humans have lived in deserts where nothing grows for months at a time. Humans have lived in dense tropical forests dripping with fruit year-round. Could one single diet possibly work in all three places? Of course not, and it didn't. The anthropologist Catherine Milton spent years studying the diets of wild primates, comparing them to human evolution. What she found broke apart the simple story most people still believe. Early hominins were not locked into eating only meat or only plants. Their bodies became flexible specifically because their environments kept changing under their feet. Flexibility was not a side effect of evolution. It was the entire strategy. Here is where it gets stranger. For a long time, the popular idea was that early humans were primarily hunters, chasing down mammoths and antelope, powered by meat. That image is dramatic. It is also incomplete. Isotope analysis on ancient bones, along with plant residue found stuck in fossilized dental plaque, tells a very different story. Researchers have found starch grains from tubers, grains, and legumes embedded in the teeth of humans who lived tens of thousands of years before farming ever existed. Wait, before farming? Yes. Long before anyone planted a single seed on purpose, humans were already eating wild grains, wild legumes, roasted roots, nuts, seeds, insects, shellfish, and yes, meat when it was available. Not one category, all of them, shifting by season and by geography. The biological anthropologist Amanda Henry examined dental calculus, the hardened plaque on ancient teeth from Neanderthal remains. Inside that plaque, she found microscopic starch granules from cooked plants. Cooked. That single detail rewired an entire assumption. It meant Neanderthals were not simply gnawing raw meat off bones around a fire. They were preparing plant foods deliberately, using heat to make them digestible. Thousands of years before modern humans supposedly invented the idea of a balanced meal. This is where the fire itself becomes the real main character of the story. The primatologist Richard Wrangham built an entire theory around this idea, calling it the cooking hypothesis. His argument is simple but enormous in its implications. Cooking food, whether meat or plant, breaks down tough fibers and unlocks calories that would otherwise pass through the body mostly unused. Raw food takes enormous amounts of energy just to chew and digest. Cooked food delivers far more usable energy per bite. According to Wrangham, this single shift, learning to apply heat to food, may have freed up so much extra energy that it helped fuel the growth of the human brain itself. Your brain, right now, reading this sentence, burns roughly 20% of your body's total energy at rest. That is an extraordinarily expensive organ to run. Cooking may be one of the reasons your ancestors could afford to build it. So the real ancient diet was never a fixed list of approved ingredients. It was a strategy. Eat what the season gives you. Process it however you can, with fire, with grinding stones, with fermentation. Extract every possible calorie. Move to the next resource when this one runs out. Does that sound familiar? It should. It's the opposite of almost every modern diet plan. Modern diet culture sells certainty. Eat this, never that. Follow this exact ratio of macronutrients. Avoid entire food groups because they are supposedly unnatural. But your body was not built by certainty. It was built by chaos, unpredictability, and constant improvisation across tens of thousands of years and dozens of different environments. There's another piece of this that rarely makes it into the popular version of the story. Christina Warrener, a researcher who studies ancient dental calculus and the human microbiome, has shown that ancient diets diets varied so widely by region that no single ancestral diet can be reconstructed and applied universally. A population living near the coast 15,000 years ago ate an enormous amount of seafood, rich in fats your brain depends on. A population living inland during the same window relied heavily on wild tubers, nuts, and seasonal game. Both groups were equally human. Both were equally ancestral. Neither diet matches what modern paleo diet books describe. So why does the myth persist? Because certainty feels better than nuance. A simple rule is easier to sell and easier to follow than the actual truth, which is messier and far less marketable. Eat like your ancestors sounds like solid advice until you realize your ancestors did not eat like each other, depending on where and when they lived. Here is the twist that changes how you might think about your own plate tonight. The real ancestral skill was never about choosing the right foods. It was about adaptability itself. The humans who survived were not the pickiest eaters. They were the most flexible ones, the ones willing to eat insects during a lean season, roast tough roots during a drought, and switch to fish when the herds moved on. Rigidity would have killed them. Flexibility kept them alive. Modern humans have inherited that same flexible digestive system, tuned by hundreds of thousands of years of shifting circumstance. Your body can run on high protein, high fat, high carbohydrate, or some mixture of everything, depending on what is actually available to you. There is no single missing ancestral food that will unlock a better version of you. There is only the same ancient tool your ancestors relied on, adaptability, applied to whatever your own environment gives you access to. Consider how strange it is, standing in that grocery store aisle, surrounded by more food variety than any human population has ever had access to in history, feeling anxious that you are somehow eating wrong. Your ancestors would likely find that particular kind of anxiety almost incomprehensible. They spent their lives worrying about whether there would be food at all. You are worrying about whether you have chosen the philosophically correct food among 40 available options. That gap says something important about how far removed modern life has become from the pressures that actually shaped your biology. None of this means nutrition doesn't matter. It clearly does. But the fantasy of a single, hidden, correct ancestral diet waiting to be rediscovered and followed perfectly was never real. What was real is far more useful to know. Your ancestors survived not because they found the one true diet. They survived because they never stopped adjusting. So the next time you stand in that aisle, phone in hand, searching for the one true way humans are supposed to eat, remember what the research actually shows. There was no single answer then. There isn't one now. There was only ever the willingness to adapt. And that, more than any single food on any single list, is the real inheritance sitting at the bottom of every meal you have ever eaten.